Audio check, testing the audio. Audio check, testing the audio. Audio check. Okay, great. Thank you, YouTube, for chiming in to let me know the audio's good. Thank you, Jane. Appreciate that. Are we good on Facebook? Facebook audio? Anyone on Facebook chime in and let me know that we're good there? Okay, great. Thank you, Facebook. Appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. That didn't just give away that I'm in the in Michigan, if you know very specifically, where the everybody. It's a totally Michigan thing. Everybody. I highlight that because my parents are originally from Kentucky. My dad is always thought it was very odd that in Michigan folks would say everybody. He would follow it up with a, well, I'm glad you feel that way. That we're friends. Okay. All right, we're going to get started here in about 12 minutes. If you haven't already, get your glass of water, cup of tea, whatever your preferred beverage is. I want you to make sure that you're comfortable. Have something nice to engage. I'm going to go with water myself. Where's everyone from? We have. I'm here in Michigan. Typically have people all over the country. Is this the first time for everyone? We do have people that attend more than one time, so. Oh, great. Got some Kansas, Indiana, okay, very good. Oklahoma, Massachusetts. Well, so far we're nice and spread out. Oh, a couple people from Michigan, okay, very good. Linda's from Tennessee, and this is her first time. Excellent. Good to have you, Linda. Missouri, all right. Anna's a first timer also. Great. Glad to have everyone here. I haven't gotten my note yet from my tech team telling me that all the text notifications went out. Are you all here because of the text notification, or Did you are you hopping on from an email or some other? You just saw us go live. New Jersey. Okay, great, Mary. Another Tennessee. All right. Hi, Yvette. Jane's also here, first timer. Monica, good to see you from Ohio. Another Ohio. I thought, didn't you say, maybe you just said hello earlier? Okay, all right. Email, okay, so email. Pennsylvania, first time. Okay, all right, yeah, so text messages are still going out, so I think we should be good to start on time, but I haven't gotten my notice yet that all the texts are out, so we'll see here. Okay, looks like my tech team is saying that notifications are going out just a little slower than normal. So we'll see exactly what time all the text messages get out, but we may give it just a couple of extra minutes after the start of the hour. So with that, I'll say a couple of things for you. If you haven't already subscribed to our, well, you haven't heard the presentation yet, so this might be a little presumptuous of me to think that you might want to subscribe, but I think you'll like the presentation. So if you'd like to already subscribe and follow our Facebook page, I'd encourage you to do that. Give you a chance to interact with us at future events. We also do a podcast, a daily podcast, and so we know you'll get a lot out of that as well if you watch that. But we'd love to interact with you in more ways than just this. We're going to try and start just as close as we can to that 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you're in a different time zone, you can work it back from there. But we'll do our best. Okay, looks like text message notifications are starting to get sent out, so that's good news. I think we'll be good to go. About 7 minutes till start time. Okay. Again, we will do our best to start right as close as we can, but we do want to make sure everyone has a chance to get notified. Many people do request to be notified by text message, and so we want to make sure they have a chance to join in before we get rolling. Little fun fact about Social Security. If you didn't know, you can access your statements online at ssa.gov. ssa.gov. You're able to access your statements, and if you go in and you can tell them to stop mailing you. I don't know if you know this, but Social Security, although it's been in worse shape than it is right now. We have a little bit of a ticking time bomb on having enough funds to continue to pay people at the rate we are. So if you like to save Social Security some money, simply let them know that you don't need your mail. Okay. There's also a bill in Congress, if you want to let your congressperson know that they should not vote for this bill, that would start mailing out Social Security statements to everyone, the entire country, I think over the age of 25, and they're currently not doing that. And a rough estimate is several $100 million over a few year time period that would cost us. So if you'd like to do something with that, I would welcome you to do that. Looks like we're starting to have people join in with those text messages. I see that someone mentioned that they are getting the text, so that's great. We'll get started here, as I just mentioned, in about 5 minutes. About 5 minutes till start time. Glad to have everyone here. I see we have a lot of folks from a lot of different places. Las Vegas, Nevada, New Jersey. If you see here that I'm able to highlight your comments, how I'm doing that, where I select them. We will be having a Q&A portion of our presentation at the end, and with your questions I can do that same thing. I can highlight them, answer your questions, so we like to do that. And we are expecting quite a crowd today, so I'll do my best to answer as many questions as possible. I hope to get to all of them, but if for some reason I can't, I'll do my best though. I'll do my best. Okay, it looks like we're doing well. About an even split between YouTube. YouTube, we always seem to have more people watch on that than Facebook, and that appears to be true again today. Okay, pretty good. Starting to see more people joining in here pretty quickly, so I think we should be able to start pretty close to right at the top of the hour. Okay, great. Indiana, Montana, yeah, awesome. Texas, good. All right. If you haven't already, get a beverage, you know, something to drink, some water, tea, coffee if that's what you like. I have had people mention in the comments that they're enjoying a more adult beverage, if you will, beer or wine or something like that. I always wondered what it would be like. We used to do these live where we would be in your neck of the woods doing a presentation face to face, and I always wondered what it would be like if we served alcohol, because we can get a little, I don't know if rambunctious is the right word, but okay, so people are just now getting the text. All right, we want to make sure everybody has a chance to join in, so thanks for keeping me posted on that. Interestingly, I still haven't gotten the notice from my tech team that all the texts are out, so I think you're going to get a couple extra minutes if you need to run to the restroom or do anything before we get going here. I'm going to probably give it maybe 2 or 3 extra minutes, maybe as many as 5 extra minutes, depending on what my tech team here says about the text notifications going out. So we'll see. Okay, great, Renee. Glad to have you. Hi, Lee. You're here. That's right. Susan from Orlando. Nice to have you. Okay, so it looks like we're starting to get a lot more people joining in, so we're doing good, but we do, as I mentioned, want to start once everyone's had a chance to get notified. So just waiting for that. Okay. Yeah, so text messages took a minute to go out, a little bit slower than expected. See a lot of people joining on very quickly here, so that's great. I'm going to give it a couple extra minutes before we get rolling, just to make sure people have a chance to join in. So sorry for the little bit of delay. Technology, blessing and a curse, and it's cursing us just a little bit as we get started. People aren't getting notified exactly on time, so we want to give people a chance to get in before we get going. For those of you who have been here, and we're very prompt, thank you for that. We're glad that you're here. I'd encourage you to get some water, tea, coffee, run to the restroom, whatever you need to do. I'd encourage you to do that. We'll get started here. Probably going to start maybe 3-4 minutes after the hour, just to give people a chance to come in whose notification was a little on the late side. Yeah, we're doing good now. Okay, we're getting close to the right number. Expecting roughly 150 to 200 people, so we're a little shy of that yet. So I do want to give it a chance. We'll get going here, as I mentioned, in about, let's call it 3 minutes. Let's call it 3 minutes. We'll get going. If anything happens while the presentation is going on, where you lose connection, you have any trouble at all with connection, well, all you need to do is you go back to the link either in your email or go back to the link in your text message and you click into that, and then it'll give you the option. So if you were on Facebook and you're having problems, then just switch over to YouTube or vice versa. Okay, so if you have any problems at all you'll need to do is go back to that same link and you'll be able to get back into the presentation. So certainly want to make sure that you know that, so that if anything does happen during the presentation, you're able to get back in. We're going to start here in 2 minutes. For those of you just joining in, we're going to start just a couple minutes later, just to make sure everybody has a chance. We know the notifications for the workshop were just a little bit slower than normal. Wonderful technology, but all notifications are out. We just want to give people a chance to get in, get settled in. So we're going to start at 7:03. 7:03. So that little thing about top of the hour is no longer correct, okay? 7:03. So got about a minute. So any last minute runs to the restroom before we get going, feel free. Anything at all that you need to do, we'll start here in just about a minute. Okay. Going to get started here in just a minute for those joining in. 7:03 is our start time, so here we go. All right. Welcome, everyone. My name's Kyle McCauley. I'm one of the national presenters here at Einstein Retirement Workshops, and Einstein Retirement Workshops is a national educational organization. What we do is we like to put out lots of content and helpful content for those who are gearing up for or entering in or are already retired. And our goal is to make sure that you have some good, helpful resources that can help you retire successfully and making good, smart, wise decisions. This is our most popular presentation on Social Security. And we do know that many of you are looking forward to a few things about this, and so let's discuss our agenda. First is you're looking forward to getting our Social Security filing workbook. So our presentation here today is going to run about an hour, okay? Right about an hour. At the end of that hour time together, two things we will do. Number one, I'm going to share with you how you can request your copy of our Social Security filing workbook. It is a physical workbook. We mail it to you. And we'll talk about how you can request that right at the end of the presentation. Also, at the end of the presentation, we will go into a question and answer portion of our time together. For those of you who are here early enough, you were able to see that I could highlight your comments, and so I will do that during the Q&A portion. You type in your question into the comments, I can highlight it, and then I can answer it. We tend to get a lot of comments, and people will type things in. Occasionally I tell a joke and you want to say ha ha, or let me know that you thought it was funny. I appreciate that. But so I'd encourage you to save the question until the Q&A portion and type it in then. Otherwise I'm less likely to see it. So save your questions. Don't necessarily type them in now, because if you do I might miss it. So just save that question. Once we get to the Q&A, I'll do my best to answer just as many questions as I have time for. Typically, I will stay for another 30 minutes or so to answer questions, and I'll do the best I can to get to as many as possible. Okay, so that's our agenda. My name, again, is Kyle McCauley. I want to share with you a little bit about my background, just so that you have a sense as to what my perspective is when I do this presentation. So I'm the managing partner of City Center Financial, which is a retirement planning firm. I'm also a chartered retirement planning counselor, an accredited portfolio management advisor, and I'm also a National Social Security Advisor certified professional. So when I do this presentation, okay, as the managing partner of a retirement planning firm, the thoughts that I'm having, the things that I'm thinking about when I'm sharing examples and talking about the various things we're going to discuss are really about things that we have helped actual folks think through, plan through, in making good, high-quality decisions for their own Social Security benefits. So I think you'll find this presentation to be very practical, pragmatic. I think you'll get a lot out of it. Okay, also, we are not affiliated with, nor are we employed by, the Social Security Administration. The goal of our presentation today is to give you some good and helpful information and advice about your Social Security benefits. We're not going to start signing you up or anything like that, okay? The reason why we're able to do that and give you that advice is because we are a registered investment advisory firm, City Center Advisors. Why is Social Security such a hot topic? Why are all of you here today? Well, number one, you're probably close in age to where you're going to be qualifying, or you've already qualified to file for a benefit of some type. So right now, 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every single day, and that is expected to continue for another 13 years total per year. That's 3.64 million new folks that are turning 65 every year. Still going to continue for another 13 years. So that's a lot of people that used to work, pay those FICA taxes into this system. Now they're retiring and they're actually pulling dollars out of the system. So it brings up issues and concerns of things like insolvency. Will there be a benefit for me? Those types of concerns. So we'll certainly touch on that. When we think about Social Security, it's a pretty big part of most folks' retirement plans. What do I mean by that? Well, in fact, benefits cover more than 50% of folks' retirement income. Okay, 65% of middle-income Americans have more than 50% of their retirement income needs covered by their Social Security benefits. If we were in a room together and I asked for a show of hands, who has heard, don't plan on your Social Security, I would wager a bet that many, if not all of you, would raise your hand. At some point, someone told you don't plan on those benefits. But the benefits are here, and in many cases, they can be quite good. It is not uncommon for us to see married couples, between the two of you, to have $40, $50, $60, $70, sometimes as much as $80,000 per year of combined benefits. So again, not only are those benefits available to us, but in many cases they can be quite good. Pensions have been going away. They've been frozen. We've seen, unfortunately, some pension benefits get cut after they've been started. And so that has enhanced the importance of these Social Security dollars as a consistent income source coming to today's retiree. Lastly, 46% of Americans, not middle-income Americans, all Americans, pass away today with less than $10,000 to their name. Now, this statistic is not here to frighten you. What it's here for is to sort of give us a framework and understanding of what exactly is this Social Security benefit? How should I frame this into my retirement planning decisions and how I think about what these dollars will mean for me in my retirement planning? So if you were to ask yourself, do I insure the important financial things in my life? The answer, of course, is yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely you do. What about your house? Sure. Your car? Yeah, I got car insurance. Your health? Yes. Do you insure your retirement? The answer actually is yes. So when you frame Social Security benefits into your retirement plan, you're trying to fit it into that puzzle piece of what do these dollars mean to me? The way to frame that in properly is to view Social Security as retirement income insurance, or we could say longevity insurance. even that person passing away with less than $10,000 to their name, so long as they had qualified for a Social Security benefit and they're still living, they were still receiving those Social Security dollars on a monthly basis. So these are dollars that will pay to you no matter how long you live. And so when framed in properly, we would view these benefits as retirement income insurance, or again, we could say longevity insurance. Longevity insurance might be something important to you this day and age because we live much longer than we expect in many cases. The average life expectancy is in the 80s. The average life expectancy for the majority of you is higher than that. A married couple, age 65. Gentlemen, you have a 50% chance of making it to 92. Ladies, you have a 50% chance of living to 97. So, people often are living much longer than they ever expected. My granddaddy is a great example of this, okay? My granny's still living. She's 92 this year. But my granddaddy, 91 this year. She was born in 20, I believe. Yeah, 1920. So she's 91 this year. So she's still living, but my granddaddy just passed away last year. He was 92, actually lived to life expectancy, but he was a surprise, right? If you'd asked him at age 85, hey, do you think you'll make it to 90? He'd have smiled and said no. He'd have said that at 70, actually, because he had had 4 heart attacks and 3 bypass surgeries before the age of 75. But medical technology, the way things work now, I mean, the reality is that in many cases, you're going to be a good chance that you'll be living much longer again than expected. Just a quick note, my tech team is notifying me that Facebook is having some problems. So if you're on YouTube, hang tight. You're probably in good shape. If you're on Facebook, please know that you can simply switch from Facebook, go back to that text message, or go to the email and you can switch over to YouTube if you'd like. Okay, so I'm sorry for that. Obviously, we don't control Facebook, but apparently Facebook is having some problems. So if you're one of those having problems on Facebook, you can just simply switch over to YouTube, okay? It sounds like YouTube's doing fine. Okay, now I don't know how long you'll live. Maybe you can live as long as this gal. We'll see. Currently the oldest living person, Kane Tanaka. She's 118 years of age, and she's from Japan. Now, interestingly also, of the last 5 oldest living people, 4 of them were from Japan. So, I always like to make sure you understand that if you're thinking about relocating, I might recommend Japan. Okay, here's what we're going to focus on. Some basics about how your benefits work, how they're calculated. We'll also talk about strategies for those of you who are married, options for those of you who are divorced, and also options for those of you who are widowed. If you fall asleep somewhere in the middle, please do wake up in time for taxes. Last bullet point. Our organization has now helped thousands of folks make high-quality Social Security filing decisions. If there is one single item that will take 2 strategies that kind of look the same, yeah, maybe if you do this way it's fine or that way, doesn't really matter. If there's one thing that will take those 2 strategies and say, nope, this one stinks, we got to go this way, it's going to be taxes. So I want to make sure we spend enough time on that to give you some good guidance. The way you qualify for a Social Security benefit is by having 40 credits. If you do not know if you have 40 credits with the Social Security system, it is pretty easy to check. All you need to do is go to ssa.gov, ssa.gov, that's Social Security Administration's website, and create a portal. Go to the My Social Security tab, create a login. When you create a login, they'll ask you all kinds of verification questions to make sure that you know who you are, and then they will show you right on that screen. One of the first things they do is a bunch of green boxes across the screen. If you have all of them, all 40, they'll give you a green check mark at the end, and that means you qualify for a Social Security benefit. Once you've qualified for a Social Security benefit, the way your benefit is calculated is by the highest 35 years of indexed earnings. A few things about this. Number one, it's not the most consecutive 35 years. It's not the most recent 35 years. It is the highest 35 years no matter when those years occurred. But it's not just the highest 35, it's the highest 35 after those dollars have been indexed for inflation. So in the Social Security filing workbook that we will mail you, in that workbook are indexing tables. What you do with an indexing table is you can take your earnings history with Social Security. Page 3 of your Social Security statement has a list of all the dollars that you've paid taxes on, FICA taxes on, into Social Security. You can take those numbers and put them on an indexing table to see what they're worth in today's dollars. If, for example, you had a $20,000 number in the year 1980 and you plug that in to that indexing table, you would see that you need to multiply that by 4 and change. So, $20,000 earned in 1980 when Social Security is doing your benefit calculation is actually worth a little over $80,000 in today's dollars. So, any additional work you're doing now, in order for that to increase your benefit for the future, it has to replace a lower income year in the past. Let's say $20,000 in 1980 after indexing was your lowest. Would $60,000 of income today increase your benefit in the future in that scenario? No, it would not. Okay, you have to earn more than $80,000 in today's dollars to replace that lower income year and give yourself a higher benefit. Now, if you're not swapping out lower income years in the past, your work today is not reducing your benefit. It doesn't hurt you. It just doesn't give you any more increases. Once you have those 35 years, you've hit that benefit amount, you can continue to work and try and push it higher if that's possible. But, you know, most people, once you get all 35, there's not a lot that can be done to continue to push that benefit up, okay, other than just the normal delaying process. Now, what happens in the scenario where you do not have all 35 years? In that scenario, what Social Security will do, let's say you have 25 years, is they'll take those 25 years, index them for inflation, and then they will add 10 zeros when they calculate your benefit. So any additional work that you're doing today is replacing a zero and should have a pretty good size impact in terms of giving you a benefit increase in the future. Now, couple of major provisions that you need to be mindful of if they apply to you in terms of what can reduce your Social Security. If you have a Social Security benefit and you also have a pension benefit that is a non-covered pension. Non-covered pensions are typically earned from government employees, whether that's local municipalities, state workers, okay, it varies, but that non-covered pension will cause your Social Security that you may qualify for to be reduced depending on several factors. Number one is if the Social Security you're filing for is your own, then your non-covered pension cannot reduce your Social Security to zero. You'll always get at least something from Social Security, but it could be a very reduced amount. If the Social Security benefit is not your own, it's actually a spousal benefit, then what you would do is you would take 2/3 of your pension, and when you receive those dollars, you subtract that from the Social Security from your spouse, and if that goes to zero or negative, then you get nothing, okay? So that one's a little easier. These calculations both for, it's called the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset are in your workbook, okay? All right, I think you know this, but if you don't, you've paid a lot of money into Social Security. 6.2% of your pay you've been paying in over the last 10, 20, 30, 40, however many years you've been working. Your employer, match that. for another 6.2%. Total 12.4% of your pay has been going into this Social Security system over all the years that you've been working. These benefits are a true entitlement program. You're entitled. You've earned these benefits. Okay, so don't ever feel bad about filing for them or any nonsense like that. You have absolutely paid for them. I think if you could imagine an account somewhere with 12.4% of your pay in it over all the years you've been working, you apply even just a little bit of interest to it, that is a heck of a big pile of money. So these dollars are yours. You've earned them. Unfortunately, it is not like you have an account at Social Security with your name on it, with your dollars in it. The system works like this. It's called pay as we go. Dollars flowing into Social Security are leaving the system right now to pay current recipients. Now, we used to have a surplus. What did we do with the surplus? We bought treasury bonds. So if you ever heard anyone say, oh, Congress robbed Social Security, not really. They just authorized Social Security to buy treasury bonds, okay? So we don't ever really actually take money out of Social Security, despite the popular mantras. So that's just a little tidbit for you. But right now, we're actively selling treasury bonds because the current FICA taxes flowing in are not covering the payments. And we are fully funded still through 2035, again, not because there's enough taxes flowing in, but because we have a buildup of treasury bonds that are being actively sold to pay out current recipients. What happens in 2035? Because right now we're in the red. Well, in 2036, we're funded roughly 75 cents on the dollar thereafter. So sometime between now and 2035, probably, December of 2035, they'll concoct a plan to fix Social Security. Hopefully not that long, but we'll see. Okay, so the plan to fix Social Security is not going to be too surprising because you already know what that looks like. Let me explain. All of your parents have a full retirement age of 65. You have a full retirement age, the oldest of you, of 66. Many of you have a full retirement age of 66 and some number of months. And then there's some of you that have a full retirement age at 67. That process of moving from 65 to 67 was a grandfathering in process that fixed Social Security, Okay, so once you hit the age of 55, by current federal law, they cannot change your Social Security benefits. So they're not going to cut your checks by 25%. That's not going to happen. But they will find a way to reduce how much in dollars is going to go to your children and grandchildren. And they'll do that probably by raising the full retirement age, maybe to 70. Maybe they won't let you file at 62 anymore, something like that. Okay, so they'll fix it, and it will mean some sort of reduction or effect on your children and grandchildren. Basically what I'm saying is don't worry about your dollars. You can pretty well count on them and plan on them, okay? Now, will they be worth anything? Inflation becomes an issue. I get all that, but let's just keep going for now. All right. When you file for a Social Security benefit, you are filing based off something known as your primary insurance amount. Your primary insurance amount comes to you at your full retirement age. I know that many of you do have a full retirement age of 66 and some number of months. Some of you are 67. But just for ease of explanation, we're going to assume for a minute that everybody has a full retirement age of 66. If you file for benefits at your full retirement age, you receive 100% of your primary insurance amount. Your primary insurance amount is up on the upper right corner, that big bold number on your Social Security statement. That is your estimated primary insurance amount. If that number says $2,000 and you file at full retirement age, you should get $2,000. You are allowed to file earlier than your full retirement age, but if you do, you get a reduced amount. If you file as early as age 62, your reduction is 25%. So if that $2,000 is what your PIA, your primary insurance amount, says, you're going to actually receive $1,500. Every month you delay, you get a little bit of an increase until you get your full maximum PIA at age 66, or your full retirement age. You can earn what is called a delayed retirement credit 8/12 of 1% per year, or excuse me, per month, all the way up until age 70. Works out to approximately 8% per year. If you receive the 8% per year for 4 years, you turn a $2,000 benefit into $2,640, okay? So that would be the way to maximize, quote unquote, maximize the benefit. Again, my tech team is saying that Facebook is really having some issues. If you haven't already switched over to YouTube, I highly recommend that you do that because it sounds like Facebook is having some problems. So if you haven't already, you're on Facebook, you can go back to the link in the email or the text and then just switch over to YouTube, okay? So really encourage you to do that. All right. There are actually 3 distinct benefits that you can file for. One is a retired workers benefit. The way that benefit is the benefit you're entitled to based upon your own work history. The spousal benefit would be the benefit that you're entitled to based upon a spouse's work history or an ex-spouse's work history. Widow or survivor benefits are benefits that you could be entitled to based upon a deceased spouse's work history or a deceased ex-spouse's work history. The last time Social Security law was changed was in October of 2015. Basically what they did is they took away all the fun stuff. Okay, so if you've ever heard of file and suspend, get a lump sum check, any of that stuff, all of that's gone. Okay, the one exception here is if you happen to have not filed for a benefit yet and you were born before January 2nd of 1954. If both of those things are true, and you have a spousal or ex-spousal benefit you're entitled to, you can file what's called a restricted application, get that spousal or ex-spousal benefit, and then switch to your own at a later date. But you have to be born before January 2nd of 1954, and you also must not have already filed for a benefit. For that group as well as everyone else, there's really just 2 things to keep in mind in terms of filing strategies. Number 1, if you file for a Social Security benefit and you wish you hadn't done that, okay, for whatever reason, okay, but you just say, you know, I didn't really need that money yet. I kind of want to earn those delayed retirement credits. Do I have an option? Yes. At any time, for any reason, so long as you're younger than 70, if you suspend benefits, meaning you tell Social Security, stop paying me, they will give you any increases you're entitled to from the point at which you suspend until you file at a later date as late as age 70. If you're within the first 365 days from when you filed, one time only, you are allowed to do what's called a rescinding of your application. The only caveat here, though, is that any dollars you've received up into the point at which you want to rescind, you have to pay them back to Social Security. But if you do, they will reset your benefit as though you never filed, and you can earn any and all delayed retirement credits you're entitled to. Okay, let's talk about spousal benefits. In order to qualify for a spousal benefit, you need to have been married for at least 1 year. Also, the worker that you're filing that spousal benefit from must have filed their benefit. So if my wife has a benefit, and let's say I have no work history, and she files her benefit, now I'm entitled. But if she hasn't filed yet, I'm not entitled until she does. I also must not be entitled to my own benefit that is more than 50% of hers. So typically the benefit that you're entitled to is 50% of your spouse's primary insurance amount. So let's say my wife has $2,000. If I don't have a work history, then I'm thinking I'll get $1,000. But if I do have a work history, and let's say my own benefit is $1,200, then I just get my $1,200. It's not like I get some of mine and some of hers, none of that stuff, okay? John's primary insurance amount at his full retirement age was $2,000. Jane would be eligible for half of that, $1,000, at her full retirement age. A couple of things about spousal benefits. First, spousal benefits reduce on a faster schedule when you file early. So you can file a spousal benefit at 62, but if you do that, it is not like your own. Your own benefit, if it's $1,000 and you file at 62, you get $750. But if it's not your own, it's a spousal that you're filing for at 62 at $1,000, it's reduced not to $750 but $700. So if you want to think about it like extra penalties for spouses who file early, maybe that's a fair way to say it. The second thing is there are no delayed retirement credits on spousal benefits. If I have my own benefit at $1,000 and I wait till 70, I get to turn it into $1,320. But if it's not my own, it's a spousal, I can't turn it into $1,320. I max out at my full retirement age $1,000. For my married couples, when one of you passes away, only one benefit remains, and it is always the higher of the two. So if my wife has $2,000 and I have $1,000, she predeceases me, I say goodbye to my $1,000, I keep her $2,000. If I predecease her, I take my $1,000 with me, she keeps her $2,000. Only one benefit remains, it's always the higher of the two. The only caveat to this is the 82.5% rule. If the higher wage earner files early, let's say I have a $2,000 benefit, I file at 62, I'm getting $1,500. I predecease my wife. What she gets is not $1,500, she gets a little bump up to 82.5%, or $1,650. Two most common mistakes we see married couples make. Number one, remember when you frame in your Social Security benefits, you frame those benefits in properly by viewing it as retirement income insurance, or again, you could say longevity insurance. So if you frame those benefits in like that, remember when you're married, the higher wage earner has not only your own benefit, but you have the higher benefit for either one of you when one of you passes away. So that smaller benefit's gone. The higher wage earner benefit is the survivor's benefit. So sometimes we'll see higher wage earners filing early. What does that do? It really short changes that surviving spouse. So it's sort of like, you know, two sides of the same coin. If I pass away at 75, you know, I'm dead, so I don't know if I care, but I say, rats, I should have filed earlier. I waited till 70. But on the flip side, I maximize that survivor benefit, so now at least my spouse who outlives me has that much higher benefit, and that's the only benefit they have. Whatever they were getting is gone, okay? So generally speaking, higher wage earners, if anyone's going to be doing any kind of delaying, it's going to be that higher wage earner. Second mistake that we see folks making is where, you know, both spouses, maybe they want to work longer, or they just don't necessarily need the Social Security, so they're thinking, well, why don't we just both max out those benefits? Again, I can tell you this comes from just running hundreds and really now thousands of analyses as an organization. It just almost never works out for both spouses to delay past full retirement age. Generally speaking, one person is going to be best to do some kind of delaying, some amount, and one spouse is going to be filing earlier to some degree or another. Let's talk about divorced spouse benefits. In order to qualify for a divorced spouse benefit, you need to have been married for 10 years in a row to the same person. So, married 5 years, divorced, remarried, even to the same person, 7 years, divorced. 5 plus 7 does not equal 12. One of those two stints has to be at least 10 years for you to qualify for X benefits. So, I know you didn't come on here for marriage counseling, but, you know, if you needed a reason to hang on, there you go. All right, you may not be currently married. If you have a marriage that lasted more than 10 years and you're thinking, gosh, maybe I'd like to file on their benefits, but you're remarried, forget about those divorce benefits. You're just dealing with either your own or your new spousal benefit. Same benefit amounts in terms of no delayed retirement credits and extra decreases for filing early apply to the ex-spousal benefits, as did also those spousal benefits. One major difference between spousal and ex-spousal benefits. you are what is called independently entitled to file an ex-spousal benefit so long as you've been divorced for at least 2 years. Meaning, it does not matter whether your ex-spouse has filed their benefits or not. Doesn't matter at all. You can file based on their work history so long as you've been divorced for at least 2 years. Okay. So if, this is the caveat, if you were born before January 2nd of 1954 and you have not yet filed for a Social Security benefit, the restricted application could be particularly advantageous to you if you have a divorce from a marriage that lasted more than 10 years. Okay, one goofy thing about divorced spouse benefits. If you file for a divorced spouse benefit and, you have a marriage that lasted more than 10 years and that spouse, you hit 62 and you file your own benefit, but that spouse is younger. Then a couple years go by, they hit 62. You could switch to that ex-spousal benefit if it's higher. And if you can manage to fit a couple of 10-year marriages like that, and you have another younger spouse, they hit 62, and their benefit's higher again, you could switch again. Okay, as many 10-year marriages as you can manage to fit into your lifetime, you can pull this off. Okay, common questions we hear from those who are divorced. I'm divorced. My ex is going to file off of me. Is that going to affect me in some way? No, it will not. I'm divorced. I have an ex that's going to file off of me. I've also remarried. My new spouse is going to file off of me. Are their benefits going to affect each other? No, they will not. I'm divorced and I've managed to fit a few 10-year marriages into my lifetime. And they're all going to file off of me. I've remarried. My new spouse is going to file off of me. Is that, yes, it's all allowed, okay? And if that caused too much stress in your life and you happen to die young, yes, they can all get widow benefits too, okay? So it is allowed. All that is fine. Doesn't affect each other, no reductions or anything like that. Okay, I'm divorced. I'm going to file off of my ex. Are they going to know that I've done that? No, they will not. I mean, the only way they would know is if you told them, okay? It doesn't affect them, Social Security's not notified, so it's totally fine. Okay, let's talk about widow benefits. Widows are a special group. They are the only group of people who can file as early as the age of 60. In order to file for a widow benefit at the age of 60, you must have remained unmarried from the point at which you were widowed until reaching the age of 60. So long as you're unmarried, you can file for those widow benefits. But if you remarry before that, widow benefits no longer available. Very first workshop I ever did, gal in the back raised her hand and said, so if I understand this right, it sounds like we need to delay the wedding. Actually, in her case, it was kind of a big deal. Okay, this was a June workshop. She was slated to get married in September. She's 59. She does not turn 60 until March of the following year. In March of the following year, if she's remarried, she cannot file for those widow benefits that she was planning on. The widow benefit that she was planning on was worth almost $2,000 a month, just shy of. So pretty nice widow benefit. If she remarries, she can't file anything in March of next year because she's only 60. So if she remarries, the only benefit she has is her own or her new spousal. That's an age 62 filing, so she's got to wait 2 years. And the higher of those two benefits was her new spousal at just under $1,500. So how awesome is this? I got to wait 2 years to get $500 a month less. So yes, in fact, we did recommend that she might want to delay the wedding. Now, I think this is funny. I'm a religious person. You can decide for yourself. But she went to her priest and said, so can we just do the religious part of the ceremony and sign stuff later? And the priest said, no. I said, there's another priest who will do this, I'm sure of it. And she's very devout. So the wedding was delayed. All right. Last bullet point. You have to have been married a minimum of 9 months prior to the death of your spouse in order for those widow benefits to be available. However, this is not here to hurt people. It is here to prevent deathbed marriages. So, if it wasn't as though there was a terminal illness or some, sickness that was already there, then and you can provide documentation for that, then widow benefits can be reopened. Only real life example I've ever run into with this, gal was married later in life, husband was in the armed forces, shipped overseas, killed in action, they were married just less than 6 months. She assumed no widow benefits. However, again, it wasn't as though he had a terminal illness, so we were able to submit the documentation and get the widow benefits reopened. Okay, case study, another one. Widows get a lot of options in how they can file, and this case study highlights that. John, we never met John. He already passed away. He died at the age of 64. His benefit at his full retirement age would have been $2,150. Jane was 5 years younger than John, so she was only 59 when he passed. She did remain unmarried, and she attended one of our workshops at the age of 60